Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are really tearing into a premise that might just flip how you think about money.
Yeah, it's a big one.
We've been digging through a stack of sources, and they all ask this really radical question. What if getting rich? What if it had less to do with how smart you are and, everything to do with how you behave?
It's the ultimate behavioral deep dive, really. I mean, for so long, finance has been taught like a math problem.
Right, like a science.
Exactly. But our sources, and they draw heavily on themes from the psychology of money, they focus purely on the human element, the mindset, the emotions, the unique history we all have with money.
And we're doing this because the core idea is just, it's undeniable. People don't make their big financial decisions on a spreadsheet.
No, never.
They make them in real life, in the middle of a market panic or driven by fear, ego, pride, what your neighbors are doing.
That emotional layer, that's the friction point where most people, and it doesn't matter how much they earn, that's where they trip up. Our mission today is to show you why understanding your own irrationality is, believe it or not, the fastest shortcut to financial security.
Okay, let's unpack this. Part one, the psychology gap. We have to confront this reality, especially in places like the US, where you see these highly educated, high-income people who are just struggling financially. Why? Why does that gap exist?
Well, it's because the whole environment is, it's just set up to encourage the wrong behaviors. You mentioned the U.S. context. You've got high consumerism, easy credit everywhere.
The pressure to constantly upgrade.
Right. And it all results in this rampant financial anxiety, even for people who, on paper, should be doing great.
But that's the thing. If they're so successful in their careers, which takes logic and high IQ, shouldn't they be able to manage a simple budget? My gut tells me a bad money choice is a logical failure.
And that's where the sources say we get it wrong. Money mistakes are rarely, if ever, logical. They are almost always psychological. And we've been looking at the latest data, and it confirms this, that the biggest mistakes, the ones that really set you back, are emotional reactions.
This is where the data really changes the whole argument. We have some really great 2024, 2025 research on this. Let's start with the 2025 behavioral finance study.
That study is fascinating. It didn't focus on, whether people understood bond yields. It showed that most big financial decisions, mortgages, retirement, are driven by emotional triggers. Things like loss aversion, social comparison.
The whole keeping up with the Joneses thing.
Exactly, and just impulsive thinking. The study confirmed that your financial knowledge often takes a backseat to your psychological discipline.
So it's not about calculating the perfect rate of return. It's about having the impulse control to not sell everything when the market dips.
Precisely. And to prove that point even further, the 2024 U.S. Savings Behavior Report, it found that you can have two people with the exact same high income, and after 5 years, they have drastically different net worths. One is building wealth, the other is basically paycheck to paycheck.
And that difference has to be behavioral. It has to be. It proves the outcome is about habits, discipline, delaying gratification, not just what you earn.
Absolutely. The key takeaway here, and it's the foundation for all the sources we looked at, is that financial freedom is a skill. It's built on understanding your own internal behavior. If you don't master your mindset, all the math in the world won't help you.
That is a huge insight. So if we accept our behavior is rooted in our emotions, that leads us right into part two. Context, uniqueness, and these external forces that shape us. The first major idea we pulled from this is, well, it's a liberating one. No one is crazy.
Yes, and this is a call for empathy and just for better critical thinking. When you see someone make a financial choice that looks completely irrational, like maybe they hide cash under the mattress or they gamble on speculative stocks.
Right, you just think, what are they doing?
But the sources remind us that they're operating based on their own unique life experiences.
So the classic example, right? Someone who grew up in the Great Depression watches their family lose everything. Of course, their reaction is to hoard cash. That seems crazy to a young investor who only saw the bull market of the 2010s.
Exactly. And that same young investor who's only seen markets bounce back might take risks that seem totally insane to the older person. Both of their decisions are perfectly rational, but only within the boundaries of their own life experience.
So what does that mean for us then? Are we just supposed to excuse bad planning because of a tough past?
No, not at all. It means you have to recognize the framework people are working from. It helps you stop judging yourself so harshly for mistakes rooted in old habits. And maybe more importantly, it stops you from blindly copying someone else whose experiences are totally different from yours.
That's a great point. Okay, moving on to luck and risk. It's so easy to create these stories about financial genius or idiocy, but the sources really stress the huge role that randomness plays.
A massive role. Success is never 100% skill, and on the flip side, failure is rarely 100% your fault. Life is just this chaotic mix of timing, environment, choices, and, well, sheer luck.
But wait a second, if we just chalk it all up to luck, doesn't that remove accountability? Why would anyone bother to plan if it's all just random?
See, that's the subtlety. Acknowledging luck isn't about abandoning strategy, it's about adopting humility. The sources argue that if you ignore luck, you create flawed models. You try to replicate someone's success without realizing they benefited from a lucky break, a unique window of opportunity.
And then you set yourself up for failure and judge yourself unfairly when it doesn't work.
Exactly. It keeps you focused on what you can control, your behavior, your patience, your savings rate, rather than trying to engineer these random outcomes.
That makes a lot of sense. Speaking of long-term success, let's get into part 3, redefining wealth and setting boundaries. First up, this distinction between getting wealthy and staying wealthy. The sources treat these as two completely different skills.
They are entirely different games. Getting wealthy, that often takes risk, ambition, courage. You have to be aggressive to build that initial capital.
But the second you have it, the mindset has to flip. Staying wealthy requires defense. It demands humility, patience, and a healthy fear of losing what you've built. It's like a startup founder suddenly needing to become a conservative manager.
And that transition from offense to defense is where so many people make mistakes. They get good at the first game and they can't. They just can't adopt the humility and patience needed for the second one.
And that humility is key, which leads perfectly to the next insight. Wealth is what you don't see.
This one directly attacks that consumer culture we talked about. If you see someone in a fancy car or a huge house, what are they really showing you?
Spending.
Right, they're showing you money that is now gone. It's just a transaction.
But society screams the opposite at us. The car is the sign of success. How do you internalize this idea of invisible wealth when everything runs on visible status?
The simple behavioral hack is to just recognize the difference. Real wealth is what's not spent. It's savings, it's investments, it's the quiet freedom that having cash gives you. That luxury car tells you something about their past spending, but absolutely nothing about their actual net worth.
So focusing on visible consumption is actually counterproductive. This ties right into the next big concept, the power of enough.
This is one of the biggest bottlenecks, according to the sources. Most financial disasters happen because people fail to define what enough means for them. Without that behavioral stop sign, ambition turns into greed. And greed will destroy more wealth than any bad investment ever could.
That restless chase for the next upgrade, the next status symbol, it guarantees you'll never actually feel secure, no matter how much you make.
And we have the data on this. The 2025 study, Happiness Peaks at Security, Not Luxury. It aligns perfectly. Happiness goes way up with safety, stability, and control over your life. But past a certain point, it does not significantly increase with more material stuff.
Buying more things just leads to more comparison, not contentment.
Exactly. The goal isn't to maximize spending. It's to find that peace of knowing you're secure and in control. That's the real dividend.
Which brings us perfectly to part 4, the long-term strategy. If consistent behavior is the key, what's the magic ingredient that makes it all pay off? It has to be compounding.
Compounding is just. It's a mathematical reflection of patience. It's purely about consistency and time, which are behaviors. Small, consistent gains, repeated over decades, create these massive results that just defy short-term logic.
And we should probably frame it as more than just interest on interest. It's really time arbitrage. It's the willingness to wait when everyone else wants it now.
That's a great way to put it. And the sources give the most stunning example of this. Warren Buffett. 99% of his entire net worth was made after his 50th birthday.
That number is just mind-boggling. It's not because he got smarter in his 50s.
No, it's because he spent decades being consistent, letting his returns compound until the sheer force of time did the heavy lifting. His genius was his behavior, his patience, his humility. He just survived long enough for compounding to work.
So if compounding is the engine, what's the destination? The source material is crystal clear. Freedom is the highest dividend money pays.
Luxury items fade, but control over your time, the ability to choose when, where, and with whom you spend your days, that is the true, enduring return on your investment. That's a dividend you collect every single day.
And this leads to the most practical application. Save money not to buy things, but to buy options.
Savings isn't about scarcity, it's about flexibility. Savings equals calm. It's the power to leave a toxic job. the option to negotiate a salary without desperation, the flexibility to handle an emergency without crippling stress.
I think this really drives home the key insight from all the sources. Financial stress doesn't come from low income. It comes from low control.
That's the whole game. If you focus on behavioral traits, saving, patience, consistency, you increase your financial options, you increase your control, and the stress naturally goes down. You become the master of your decisions, not a slave to them.
This whole deep dive really proves that first idea we started with. Math is just the toolbox. Behavior is the key.
Absolutely. The final takeaway is definitive. Financial success isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It is, fundamentally, about managing your own psychology. You have to master your emotional relationship with money.
And if you can do that, financial freedom just becomes the natural result of consistent behavior. The sources really advocate for 3 key actions. Be patient, be consistent, and prioritize control over your emotional reactions.
And for a final thought to leave you with, building on this idea that true wealth is really just emotional peace, how can you, right now, prioritize habits that increase control over your time and decisions instead of chasing the material upgrades that just lead to more comparison and more stress? That behavioral shift, that's the real game changer.